By the Conservative MP Chris Philp and the Shadow Housing Minister Andy Slaughter. And I want to ask you both the same question. Are you, and you're people who have been in politics some time, whether you are looking back now on recent years and just wondering what's gone wrong and where you perhaps failed in trying to pick up on it? I'll start with you, Andy Slaughter.
I think this is an extraordinary situation. I thought that the 6 a.m. in the morning when this terrible event happened, I woke up and I thought, not only is this horrific what's happening to people, not just the death, but the way that it happened, but it would have huge ramifications, and I think it is going to have huge ramifications across the country, and we're only just scratching the surface.
But do you think you voted for legislation at any point which you think, frankly, you shouldn't have voted for?
I just don't know. I think we have to have the fullest and most transparent examination of that. What I do think is that we're talking about, we're talking about in your reports, and I'm glad you're paying attention to it, cladding and the type of cladding. That's only one tiny aspect of this. We're also looking at things like escape routes. We're looking at sprinkler systems. We're looking at maintenance of buildings, all of which were issues in this case, but were issues elsewhere.
Well, let me ask you the same question.
Well, something has obviously gone very, very badly and tragically wrong with this building. It should never have happened, what we saw at Genfell.
But do you think there's anything you voted for in your time as an MP which you shouldn't have voted for?
Well, in my 2 years as an MP, I don't think any of these fire regulation or building control issues came before the House. But something has gone very badly wrong. It should never have happened, and we must make sure it never happens again. And what I said to the Prime Minister in the House this morning was, can we make sure there is a very early interim report in a matter of a few weeks, or at the most a month or two, to specify what it was that went so tragically wrong, so we can make sure that the same thing doesn't happen again anywhere in our country, because we can't wait a year or two for that. That needs to happen in a matter of weeks.
One of the fundamentals that has gone wrong is regulation. Now, one of the things that both parties have talked about down the years is deregulation. Let's cut some of this red tape. Let's get on with life. And it's a disaster, because regulations have been cut that shouldn't have been cut. Fire regulations, taking powers away from the fire brigade, for example, who were the people who were responsible for going for these things. All that was wrong.
No, well, I mean, I agree with that. I've never shared that view. I've always been, I started my career working in health and safety, and I think the legislation going back to the 70s that was brought in then was absolutely essential and saved lives. You could see it saving lives at work. Now we're talking about people in their own homes. And I think you're absolutely right there, John, but I think there's also the deeper problem which we're looking at now, which is the way that we've treated social housing since the 1980s. It's gone from being an important type of tenure for a very large percentage of citizens in this country to being second or third class.
Well, I take slight variance with that. I mean, the government in the last year has announced a £7 billion package of investment in affordable housing. Even Sadiq Khan...
Hang on,
even Sadiq Khan...
I'm sick of hearing this.
It includes social housing.
Affordable housing,
hang on,
yes,
let me finish.
There are tiny proportions of social housing being built in this country. 1,000 units last year, a 97% drop in social housing since you came to power.
Let me finish. First of all, £7 billion is a huge amount of money. More council homes are built in 5 years of Conservative government than the previous 13 years of Labour. But concentrating on this particular example, it wasn't a lack of money. The building, Grenfell Tower, had received an £8 million
You know how shocking that is to people looking in? They don't care which of you built less or more. Neither of you built enough. The fact is, the Conservative Party, rightly or wrongly, sold council houses off to people, and many families were enhanced by it. But they didn't build any new ones to replace them. They never got the stock back up to what was there.
Well, we do need to build more affordable housing and more social housing. That is absolutely true. And that's why this large amount of money was put into it just a year ago. So that is a fair point. But in the Genfell Tower example, I mean, £9 million was spent on that building, but they didn't spend the £5,000 extra to make the cladding flame-proof, or the £200,000 to install sprinklers. Those are relatively small amounts of money. It wasn't a question of money, it was a question of fatal design.
Well, now I do want to ask you about money, because this is going to take an enormous amount of money. You talked about £9 billion. I mean, this is going to take billions to get the housing stock right in this country. Where's it going to come from? We're bankrupt.
Well, I would hope, and I really sincerely hope that this issue doesn't drop off the front pages in the next few months, because this is a fundamental crisis in the way we organise housing in this country. And yes, some blame has to be shared across parties, because it hasn't been an important part of the public sector like education, health has been. But there is a big difference between Labour councils and Labour governments which have strived to build that.
We don't
I'm sorry, John, but in my borough in Hammersmith, we have actually had whole estates
Yes.
sold off for private development.
Right.
It's not just neglect; it's been a willful act for the decline of social housing in this country.
I would put one last thing to you. There are 68 Tory MPs who have interests in property development and property generally, including yourself, because you're interested in funding development. I mean, the time has come, surely, to say, I'm sorry, our primary obligation is to our people.
Well, of course it is. And the Prime Minister said today that our top priority is rehousing those people, is making sure the high-rise blocks are safe. There are 600 high-rise blocks with some form of cladding system, all of which need to be checked in the next few days. We're going to be checking about 100 a day.
Right, we know that. I've already reported that.
That's right.
But I'm going to have to pause
if any of
there
them are
because...
unsafe, we need to rehouse the people in them.
Well, thank you
whatever it
both
costs.
very warmly for coming in. We've got a lot of work to do. Thank you.